Hey everyone, Dr. Dan here, and today I'm going to go over the two most common core reasons why runners struggle at the end of a run and why they lose their form. Let's get into it. Now, these two core instabilities are probably the most common reason why runners start to lose their form right at the end of the race when it's all guts and glory. Now, rotational instability refers to the body not being able to handle the loading forces during initial contact because there's this natural sway and unilateral forces applied to it and then trying to come off of it. Lateral instability refers to the body not being able to handle at the pelvic or lateral oblique level, being able to control that sway and that hip pelvic collapse phenomena going on. This is especially true with female runners because their natural physiology when their hips are a little bit wider, that puts them a little bit more risk for that type of angle movement. So let's go over two exercises for each of these instabilities so you can brace against those tendencies and keep that form right at the end of the race. The first exercise is called a pal-off or a peel-off, wherever you're from. Now the way to get this set up is set up a loop band or a cable around a fixed object, get it into the inside of your hand, make sure your feet are underneath your hips. If you have it wide, you're using your legs to support you, and that's not the idea. Legs underneath the hips, start here, and there's a couple different ways to do this. You're gonna push out, hold, and brace through these obliques. You can see that the band's gonna wanna rotate you in. Don't let that happen. Keep that brace, push out, hold, come back in. Now if that starts getting a little too easy, you can either go up in resistance or you can do more of a scoop method where you're keeping your arms straight, scooping up in front of you, and then coming back down. That's a good way to do that. 2 to 3 sets of 10. 15 is sufficient to do that for a pal-off. So the next one is a plank row. Now, doing this might be a little much, and so really lock in that bird dog. Get in on your hands and knees, one leg straight back, other arm straight in front of you, not letting your spine or hips rotate. This is definitely a good rotational stability drill. If you feel like that's getting a little too easy or you want to spice it up because you're getting too bored of it, get into a plank where your feet are about hip shoulder width apart, and you can either use a kettlebell or dumbbell. But the idea is you want to stay braced and you're going to run a row for that exercise, keeping yourself well in control. That unilateral loading is going to be great to challenge that rotational stability, whether in the front or posterior chain of your core. Now, the first lateral stability drill you can work on is what I like to call a cross lateral band walk. I like this because this really forces the lateral hips to engage while on your feet, where it applies the most functionally. Get your feet about shoulder to hip width apart and get the band to cross this way. Get some tension, pull up nice and tight. You want about a light to medium band. Now when you push out, you're gonna push out through the hips. You're not gonna slide through. You wanna be able to push right through the hips and come back exactly the way you set up. So you don't wanna get your feet together. That's gonna throw off the tension. But what you're gonna work on is just simply stepping out to the side. This is nice because you really, again, like to brace right at the lateral hips. And I like this because you can literally do this one step at a time, or you can power through it while getting your hips to control and get a front squat here and there between each set. I like the cross band walk because it, again, forces your hip to stay braced and control and avoid the compensation patterns sliding out to the side and staying straight up. This next one I really like. It's called a kettlebell suitcase carry. And yes, I like to prefer the kettlebell. Dumbbell's fine, but I like kettlebell because it's an off-centered type of weight. So you simply get a heavy kettlebell, hold it to the side, and I like this because you can't lean into it and take you with it, and you can't lean away with it by compensating. You want to keep yourself braced, and you can either do a couple of things. You can simply walk just straight with it, or what you can do is get set up and you can march, bringing your legs up and down with your foot up, simulating that running motion, keeping that core braced. You want to be able to keep that braced because this is unilaterally forcing your obliques and your pelvis to keep you upright and not let you fall one or the other. A way to progress that or make it more dynamic is simply get a band, make sure it's thick enough, loop it through the handle, grab tight on it, hold it, and now you have some rhythmic stabilization going on, doing the same thing. You can either walk or you can even march all the way through that, and that will rhythmically stabilize at the obliques and at the pelvis. There you have it. 2 of those core principles that I really emphasize with all types of runners, sprinters, mid-distance, distance runners, that gets them to be able to keep that form nice and tight at the very end and finish strong. So if you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.